The industrial might of Americans is just something incredible. There would be no time ever in that country could I ever look in the sky and not see a dozen aircraft of all sorts and shapes and sizes. And artillery shells would just rain from the sky in a fierce battle, whereas our people are very circumspect. Their industrial might is something else to see. It really is. If they crashed a helicopter, they did not recover it. They set fire to it on the spot and burnt it. Same with an APC. If it was disabled, they set fire to it with a phosphorus grenade and burnt it. There was no thought of recovery at all. Absolutely none. You just got another one. Simple as that. Interesting people to deal with. They had excellent coffee. For instance, they had tins of fruit, which we didn't get. They had a resupply every month for what they call a 5-man resupply, and you split it up between 5 of you. In that would have been razor blades and chocolate bars and cigarettes, unmarked cigarette packet, but had 5 cigarettes in it, as most people were smokers. Or if you weren't a smoker, you traded that with somebody else. I think our ration packs, as it turns out, were probably better on a nutritious basis, but they tasted awful. And you just ate them because they were there, and you're bloody hungry anyway. You never left anything, didn't matter how bad it was. You ate everything you could get your hands on. You burn up a lot of energy in a day, a lot of energy. Because you live on hard tucker, on hard rations in the bush all the time, you have very low tolerance to alcohol. So you come back in, 2 cans of beer was probably enough, 3 cans was silly, and 4 cans was carry home. That's how it worked. It took you out. And it was something to do with how your body reacts to stuff, because you're just living on hard rations in the bush, which is fairly minimal, but they must have been very well designed because we worked very hard and none of us lost weight on it. But they're very minimal amount of food, and you're always bloody hungry. Yeah, when I was with the American Armoured Unit, I was the signaller for the captain. He's had the 2 silver bars on for their unit, and we took. So I knew what was happening. He took every afternoon or every evening what people wanted. You had a torn shirt, or you'd fired off so many rounds or whatever, lost your hat. And I encrypted that and sent it off. Then the next day a helicopter would come and drop that down, either land if they could find a place to land, or they would just hover it and kick it out the door. Australians, no way you should get anything out of them in the field. You get ammunition, but that's all. You torn a shirt, you had a torn shirt until you got home. And tearing shirts and stuff were reasonably common with bamboo, because the bamboo has, in certain areas, got a big long spike on it, probably 90 millimetres long, and probably as hard as steel, and they'll tear your clothes. So if you got torn clothes or damaged clothing, unless it was something really serious, but you were very careful what you did and how you looked after your equipment. You wouldn't lose your boots. You didn't take your boots off for a start, so you never lost them. And if you were in action and like a machine gun on one case, it was hit with a couple of rounds and knocked the feed plate off it, that would have been replaced straight away through somehow. We would have got it from somewhere else somehow. But Americans are highly efficient in resupplying, highly efficient. With their tank unit that we were with, they brought fuel in for that every second day, I think, which was a great big rubber bladder thing. Probably held about 1,000 gallons. They were all petrol-powered machines, and they pumped that thing flat and dry, got all the fuel out, and then set fire to it. They didn't take stuff home. Once they used it, they just destroyed it, whereas we took stuff home. Things like the Armalite, the M16 that they used, which is a 5.56 calibre, that had an aluminium magazine on it, and I've seen them crush that with their heel on the boot. Once they'd expended it, they didn't reload them, whereas we reloaded everything. That's the way it was. They use, our people are very careful with equipment. If you're going to blow up a bunker, an engineer would come in and place charges on the where he thought was the best poles to make it fall down. The Americans put 3 cases of TNT in the thing and blew that up, which just threw everything sky high. We couldn't believe it. And the APC that I was in for a while, the entire floor was boxes of TNT. That's what they intended doing. Just like a fruit case, so flat, like a flat fruit case, wooden box with all pieces of TNT in it, which burns very nicely too. Doesn't always blow up. It's like a plastic explosive, which makes very intense heat. You can boil a billy really quickly with it, so you use it for that. I think they're underestimated, the Americans, a lot. They certainly got their faults. I don't believe they were trained anywhere near as good as we were. But they are not lacking in courage, ever. Don't try and push them, because you'll get a punch on the nose, that's for sure. They're very courageous people, right down to the last man. I never saw what you'd call a wimp in the American Army. I saw some stupid ones, some ill-equipped for their job, but never wimps, never.